Hello everyone to another video with the 1991 NFL Draft brought to you by YouTube channel Pro Football Daily, and we're going to be reacting to it. Channel Pro Football Daily, and we're going to be reacting to it. Channel Pro Football Daily, and we're going to be reacting to it. Channel Pro Football Daily, and we're going to be reacting to it. Channel Pro Football Daily, and we're going to be reacting to it. Okay. That was me there. I had another one browser open. So yeah, thank you to Pro Football Day. Congratulations to them for this like these awesome like videos that they have. And yeah, we're gonna be reacting to it. This is a reacting live stream. We're just gonna watch, and yeah, let's see. I posted the 1991. I streamed that yesterday, so now we're doing 1991 one here, and yeah, let's get into it. Here we go. There we go.
They want a smaller
Turn the
guy
volume.
with fade and get off the bump and run, and they like Randall Hill an awful lot. Now moving
Doing
down,
this on my computer here.
I know they like Randall Hill. If they feel they can move down and get that guy, they will probably try to do that.
Mel, this is your top 10 guys. Now, if it's
there we go.
The best
they got better camera here,
mark
so
it down 1228.
hopefully it'll be better
available
here.
First time said on this telecast. There's your top list. Light, they're not going to go with. Maryland, gone. Turner, gone. Rocket, gone. Tackles, they have a pretty good offensive line, albeit a little older. Mike Ken has been in the league a long, long time. And then let's turn it, well, we missed, 6 through 10 there. So, well, we're all over here. But there are a lot of names that you'll be seeing throughout the day here on the draft. You're keeping it a secret? 6 through 10? What, can't you tell us?
Chris, you're talking about Ken. He's coming off his best year as a pro. Chris Hinton at mid-season, after he got himself into top shape, was playing as well as any offensive tackle.
Oh, by the way.
Frelick at guard, outstanding. So they have a need at wide receiver. They have Rising and really nobody to complement him that Jerry prefers, which is home run hitters. They need that quarterback, and they're not going to come out of this first round, I don't believe, without a Favre, without a Nagel. And that's why I think trading down is enticing to Jerry in Atlanta. And like I said, those would be the two guys. I don't see Crow because, like I said, Darian Conner is a guy who's really going to be spot defense in Atlanta.
All right.
This is like early in their career.
There are two things that we know for sure. Russell Maryland has been drafted by the Cowboys. Eric Turner's been drafted by the Cleveland Browns. They're both sitting in Newport Beach, California, with big smiles on their faces, as they should. And Mark Schwartz doesn't even have a bad smile right now. Good morning.
Good morning, Chris. I can't believe my luck. Here I am sitting in the middle of this, the first two draft picks in the 1991 draft, and Team Steinberg has a glow on their faces. First of all, you, Russell.
Ooh, the Oilers.
Johnson, Dave Wanstadt,
that's
Coach
pretty
Bruce
cool.
Davis, all the guys from Dallas, from Miami, are with Dallas.
Yes, they are. I'm very, very excited about it. It's funny how life goes around in circles, and I can expect good things to happen. Everything is positive, and I'd like to thank the Dallas Cowboys organization.
Dallas Cowboys, Russell, Maryland.
And this is the happiest day of my life.
All right, the other immediate
Cowboys
first
pick.
is going to Cleveland to the dog pound. I mean, Eric Turner, you're from Los Angeles. You played with UCLA. Can you handle the cold?
Well, some of them have to adjust to, but I know the dog pound to keep them warm.
There's great fan support in Cleveland, but you know, the thing about the Browns is over the years, some people have said they won't play in Cleveland. Other people like Bernie Kosar have been excited, and that got the owner, Art Modell, excited.
Defensive tackle, Cowboys.
About that?
Well, they know that I was excited, to play for
Great legendary football player.
The late Don Rogers from UCLA, Hanford Dixon, Frank Minifield. I was excited to go there and play.
Lee Steinberg, a three-peat for you, 3 straight years of #1 picks.
The most wonderful part of it is the quality of both of their characters, and Jeff George, Troy Aikman. It's wonderful people.
Now, for all the Testarossas in Toronto, would you have let either of these guys go up and play in the CFL?
Everyone has to do what's right for themselves. To me, if you are a premier athlete and you want to test yourself, you do it in the National Football League. It is the show. No offense to the Canadian Football League, but more people live within 50 miles of New York than live in all of Canada.
Yeah, but you're talking about $26 million. These guys aren't going to see that much.
You've given us a wonderful hurdle to jump over. Thank you for the challenge.
All right, a great deal to jump over. Team Steinberg with the top 2 picks in the draft, and now let's go back to Chris in New York.
Yeah, maybe.
Nice.
All right, Mark, thank you. So Lee Steinberg, known as
So now the Falcons are
quarterback,
on the
that's
clock
Jeff
here.
George last year, and year before that, Troy Aikman. Hey, who needs a quarterback to get a #1 pick? At least says, well, I could branch out and do other
See
positions.
who the Falcons
The pick is
draft
on its
here.
way up. The card is on its way up to the podium here in New York. Atlanta Falcons picking 3rd here in the NFL draft. And if McKayer's done, and they keep the pick, which it looks like they have, I got to think Cole.
Well, I'll tell you, it's tough. Like I said, Darian Connor's their guy. I know Kroll's been speculated picking. Todd Light they got off mainly because Jerry compared him to Luther Bradley, who he had in Detroit, and figured he's not tough enough in run support. So Herrock liked him, Jerry didn't.
Okay, Falcons pick here.
The Atlanta Falcons select Bruce Pickens, defensive back, Nebraska.
Bruce
Next
Pickens,
up, the Denver Broncos.
cornerback,
That tells
Falcons
me
draft.
that the McKayer deal is not done because Pickens
mean,
was the next
Deion
best
Sanders,
cover
I think
guy
he
as
went
they had rated in the draft.
in the
That's why we
earlier
floated him out
drafts.
there 15 minutes ago. Let's
So,
slow down to Suwannee from Gary Danielson to
Yeah,
get the word
they
on
chose
the
a
pick, Gary.
cornerback here in 1991, the
not
Falcons.
necessarily about McKayer.
That's
Jerry, again,
very
remember, you want to
fascinating.
get 2 corners. The modern offenses are going to spread you out. It's not like the old days when the Raiders had Haynes and Hayes and they could blanket everybody, or Minifield and Dixon in Cleveland. You got to have 3 of them now. Jerry kind of won the argument here. I think Ken Herrock liked Todd Light. Jerry Glanville liked Pickens because he could come up and hit. And I think they took the guy they wanted in Pickens. Kind of an interesting thing here. They're going to have 3 cornerbacks that can play now man-to-man coverage
My
against
goodness.
McGuire. And that's what Jerry likes to play in his defense. So
Gotta
now
get
the
back
question
to-
is, will they get Brett Favre in their next pick?
Ooh, Brett Favre.
And you know, the disinformation continues in this draft. It's my first draft, and it's almost, let me get my props out here, Chris. It's almost like liar's poker. You know, these guys give you a little bit of stuff here. Back to you, Chris. I've got 3 sevens.
Well, we have a full house of defensive backs thus far, Gary. We in the top 3, we've all gone defense. 2 DBs gone already in 3.
All gone
picks.
defense.
The most defensive backs ever picked in the first round was in 1981. 6 of them. And who was one of them? That was Kenny Easley, Ronnie Lott, Dennis Smith,
Bruce
Hanford
Pickens,
Dixon, Ted Watt,
cornerback,
Bobby
Nebraska.
Buffett. This just in, that was a pretty good class of defensive backs. This just in, Bruce Pickens, rising Mel, all throughout the last month, rising on the draft chart. Some people say Atlanta reached a little bit here, but for cover guy, was he definitely right there?
Well, Jerry likes speed. Offense, defensive, secondary wants guys who can recover, and Pickens can. He ran that 4.41 at the combine, and since that time, he's moved way up. Probably a little too far, but still, in this draft was not a super blue chipper at the top.
Barnes
Really
and
can't say it's a
Max.
reach. The guy is tough. He could even move inside the safety in the long run.
I can
He's
do
an ideal cover guy. I've been talking
captions.
all year about the safeties in the NFL, the pure safety being phased out with teams spreading the field with red guns and no huddles and run and shoots. And you really need almost a 4 cornerback situation in your backfield. Your safeties have to run and cover. We saw how Buffalo was exploited all year with that, with the slow safeties. And Pickens, if he did move inside, he would be ideal. You have McKayer and Sanders at the corner, move Pickens inside to handle
Oh,
those
my
coverage
goodness.
responsibilities.
All right, so Bruce Pickens, the first of the 2 first-round selections
There
for the
we go.
Atlanta Falcons. We'll be back to New York.
Oh, okay. Let's go ahead here.
Back in New York, here at the Marriott Marquis, the Denver Broncos selecting, a little lower than they normally are accustomed to. They're the next ones up here in the draft. The 4th
Broncos
selection.
drafting
So,
next.
Defense thus far. Joe, are you taking notes?
Real break in.
Even McKayer, the offer is a 3rd-round pick, as we have mentioned before. That's what's on the table. Apparently, that's not quite done yet. But Timmy McKayer, who they spent a second for last year, Miami, to get him from San Francisco. You know, I'm going to break for a minute here before we discuss Pickens. Miami losing Timmy McKayer, he was a big part of that defense last year. Didn't you think, Tommy?
Yeah, I think he was a big part of that defense, but they ran into problems that were more problems off the field than on the field. I don't think they had a problem with Timmy McKayer and his covering ability. I don't think you could, but I think that sometimes it depends on the kind of guy he's with, and you hear him say some things that are upsetting. I think he upset Dan Marino. That's probably as big a mistake as he made during the course of the year.
No, there's one bigger mistake to make, upsetting Don Shula. That would be
Don Shula, yeah.
But that's not done yet. Now, so too many. If they do get McCarr or Deion Pickens, too many corners, too much of a jump here, Joe?
Never too many corners. I think in the way the game is played today, with the
Falcons' third
that
pick in this
everybody's going
draft,
for
drafted a
outside,
corner,
with the
Pickens.
spreading out of the defense,
They already
you need at
had
least
Deion
three,
Sanders
maybe four
before.
corners. Mel brought up the most important point. I don't project Pickens as a starter right now.
Now we know
but
Shadur
he'll be
Sanders.
utilized
That
in
was
many
a crazy
situations
draft
to
side of
cover on
Shadur
the
Sanders
inside.
into the
But the
fifth
slot
round.
guys right now are wide receivers
That's
on
pretty
the
crazy.
inside. They're not covering tight
And they
ends
also
and
got
backs
Dylan
out of the backfield.
Gabriel.
He fits
So.
into that system very well.
That was
It's not
pretty
too
crazy.
much
I was
pressure
watching it
for a
live,
young
so
man coming out of college
that
to be a
was really
cornerback,
crazy.
to have
They
to play
traded with the
inside with a little
Seahawks to
help on
get
either side.
Shadur, which
If
is
he's
even
a
crazier.
cornerback,
So
he's got a little bit of moxie
just
about him
imagine if the
anyway, so
Titans
I don't see him
also
getting
drafted
thirsty or
Shadur. They
looking
could
to
have
be able to
Shadur
play in that
and
system
Cam
at
Ward
all.
on the
So
same team.
Bruce
That
Pickens,
would have
picked
been
by
crazy.
Atlanta, the person there. Do they have more selectors than anybody else in this draft, barring any trades now? They have
Falcons most
16
selections
overall
in this
selections.
draft
The
here.
draft goes 12 rounds today and tomorrow. We won't be on for every one of those picks and every one of those rounds, but we'll be here till 6:30 Eastern time. So relax and talk some pro football with us. Talking pro football now, Robin Roberts and crew.
All right. Thanks again, Chris. And Chris Mortensen is back with us. With Bruce Pickens now with the Falcons, will they still go after McCarr?
Absolutely. They were going to do this deal and take Bruce Pickens. And the surprising thing about it is they've got two cornerbacks now. What does that mean to Deion Sanders? And the Falcons are
Deion Sanders.
concerned that Deion Sanders has a real Major League Baseball career. And that's why they made that pick. And they'll still make the McCarr trade regardless.
Yeah, because Deion is playing very well with the Braves right now. He loves the Atlanta area, back with them. He's doing very well, so they have really reason to be concerned.
I don't think anybody took Deion's baseball career seriously last year. I think now they are, because he had an excellent spring training. He's playing very well with the big league Braves.
Deion Sanders in his baseball career.
And seriously, Bruce Pickens and Tim McCarr would help Jerry Glanville in that defense. They got to have cornerbacks to play that defense.
Okay, now, Fred, you're our man with the Rocket. Can't forget about that huge contract. We keep hearing all kinds of figures. What's the latest you hear on Rocket's contract in Canada?
I talked to somebody out of Bruce McNall's negotiating team, and he laid this scenario out to me, how this deal came about. And it looks like it may be $18 million, and here's how. It was $12 to $13 million yesterday afternoon. The Cowboys came through, and this is the Bruce McNall version of things. The Cowboys came through with a $15 million offer for the Rocket late yesterday afternoon.
Wow.
At that point, Bruce McNall, I am told, said, let's get this done tonight. Worked out the deal at the game, and this is what I'm told the Rocket is getting. A $4 million signing bonus, a $4 to $4.5 million a year average on this, which includes the signing bonus, which brings it up to about 18. Well, how do you get to the 26? That's where the inflated value comes about. Apparently, the Rocket is getting 10% of Bruce McNall's 60% of the Toronto Argonauts. Now, that team was bought for $5 million, maybe $3 million. So if you take the present value of 10% of Bruce McNall's 10%, it's not too much. What they're doing is they're allocating a price on that thing based on what they think it'll be worth maybe 10 years from now. And that's where the big inflated number came from. So it was a pretty good deal. And I think that the Rocket can thank Jerry Jones for helping them get it, because apparently before Jerry Jones stepped in with a $15 million deal, it may not have been more than maybe $13 million hard cash on the table.
Thank you a lot, Fred. And we'll be having Rockets live press conference out on the West Coast, out from the West Coast in LA. He'll be talking with us, or talking with everyone, at 3 o'clock. So you want to stay tuned for that. Let's go back now to Chris and company. Chris.
All right, Robin, thank you. If you're wondering who would be throwing the football to the Rocket up for the Toronto Argonauts, Matt Dunnigan, Ricky Foggy were the quarterbacks last year. Dunnigan from Louisiana Tech, Foggy of Minnesota. They scored a lot of points last year, the second highest in the history of the CFL. Just if you're keeping track of the Rocket, Joe, which I think you are.
I think possibly you might want to throw another
CFL,
name in if you're
NFL,
interested in old people.
You?
I'm available. Just thought I'd throw that out, Bruce. I mean, and like I say, I got 0.2 last time. Anything's an improvement over that, so what the heck?
All right, well, we'll talk more Rocket all afternoon. Let's talk Denver now, Tommy. You wish you were in this draft, don't you?
Well, I think that the Broncos are looking for an outside linebacker who can put some pressure on the passer and do some things outside that a young Tom Jackson may have been capable of doing. I know that Carl Mecklenburg solidifies things on the inside. They may be looking linebacker help outside, Crow, maybe one of the guys from Colorado, or a big defensive lineman who can help solidify the middle of the football field.
Real quick, Tommy. Denver last year, Super Bowl, all the way down to the fourth pick in the draft. Was that an aberration? Because they are. Let's put it this way: in the AFC West, There's no question. Raiders getting better. They were in the title game last year. Chiefs getting better. Chargers getting better.
Raiders,
Seattle
Chiefs,
maybe not, but
Chargers.
in other words, this is a tough division to be fallen in. Is that an aberration, or are they in for some tough times?
I think it was an aberration of sorts, but I think there were two things that contributed. One, I think you can't overlook what happened against San Francisco in the Super Bowl. I think that it takes maybe a year to recover from that. But I also think that to a certain extent, the Broncos' entire season hinged on 77 seconds in Buffalo, where it was a game that they had won. They were all ready to go home. 77 seconds later, they were 2-2 instead of 3-1, wondering what was going on, and Buffalo went on to the Super Bowl.
It's pretty heavy, 77 seconds.
Yes, it was.
Down. And I'll tell you what, we have had 3 picks thus far. It's all defense. What the Broncos do, we'll know shortly. We mentioned that with Russell Maryland, the first-round pick, the first selection in this draft, that defensive line in the 25 years of the common draft have been picked first 8 times, the last being Bruce
First
Smith.
position
7
selected since
quarterbacks, 6 running backs, the last
1967.
being Bo, 2 linebackers,
More
1
defensive
wide receiver,
linemen
1
drafted
offensive
first
lineman.
than quarterbacks. 1991.
They're baseball's leading men.
Oh,
The Mets, Vince
advertisement.
Coleman, the Expos, Delino DeShields.
Trading
2 of the
cards.
game's top leadoff men square off
1991
when the
draft,
Mets
that's
face the
crazy.
Expos live at 80 Cent
Mets
on the
versus
ESPN
Expos.
Sunday Night Baseball.
Wow, exposed back then. Broncos.
Back in New York, the Denver Broncos
4th selection.
have made their choice.
Let's
The
see.
commissioner is checking
See who they
list,
draft.
making his list and checking it twice, so to speak. There have never been 4 straight
find
defensive
out.
picks to open up the draft. Will this be a precedent setter? 1991. The card is up. The phone is hung up. We'll know.
The Denver Broncos
Denver
select
Broncos
Mike
pick.
Kroll, linebacker, Nebraska.
Mike Kroll.
Next up, the Los Angeles Rams.
Another Nebraska
Well, there's always
player
a
pick
first
in a
time.
row.
And so for the first time ever,
Linebacker.
4
Nebraska.
straight defensive players have gone in this draft. Mike Kroll, a guy that at number 4,
4
Denver was
straight
talking up to
defensive
go to number
players.
2, Mel, to
Wow,
make sure that
that
they would
is
get Mike Kroll. They're ecstatic they didn't have to move, and they still get Nebraska. So Nebraska goes 3-4 the Huskers.
There was a lot of speculation, Chris, about Cleveland at 2, Atlanta at 3, maybe opting for Kroll. Denver was looking at offers to maybe move up. They stayed at 4 to get Kroll. Tim Lucas, Jeff Mills, a bust last year in the 3rd round of San Diego, are penciled in as the linebackers at Denver going into camp. They needed a guy with this kind of ability off the corner that Kroll supplies, and because of that, they had to go that route. We have a 5th defensive player, the best athlete in the draft still available in Todd Light. So we're talking about 5 straight defensive players at the top of this draft, with Light being the best overall athlete available this year. Still available at 5 for the Rams, who we thought back when I did the report in early March, late February, that he would end up in L.A.
This note, I mean, Nebraska now has Pickens going 3, and they have Kroll going 4. Almost as good as an 84 when they had bang and bang, 1 and 2 out of the gates. Irving Fryer picked first by New England. Dean Steinkuhler, offensive lineman, picked second by Houston. So 2 Huskers in the top 4 picks. Yeah, Rams defense, you'd have to think so.
Well, you're going to a Fisher scheme, a Buddy Ryan scheme, which puts a lot of pressure on the cornerbacks. And all they had there is Jerry Gray, a veteran who was a safety, moved the corner, and he's going to be there, and he'll do well. Opposite Gray, they have nobody at that other cornerback spot. They had a lot of hope for Darrell Henley from UCLA, former 2nd-round pick. He didn't pan out. Todd Light fits in very well there. Just a point about Mike Kroll. In a normal year, like a last year when we had a strong linebacking class, he's there at 15-20. Since we don't have those super blue chippers at the dominant positions, Denver has to take a 4th pick and pay him that kind of money. So I'll talk about value. You're getting value from the 10th pick on down. You're overpaying in the top 10.
Tommy, did you change the spelling of your name to Croel?
No, but he's an outstanding ball player. Even those highlights and watching him, you could see the exceptional quickness that he has, the close to the football, very aggressive player as he chases down backs from behind. That's something that Dan Reeves will like an awful lot.
To the Broncos.
As you watch these first 4 or 5 picks of the draft, it's obvious that people
subscribe.
were focusing in on how that
If you
Super
haven't
Bowl was
already,
won
we're
last
trying to
year,
gain more
and it is
subscribers. We have
defense,
over
defense,
153,000 views, I believe, on the channel. So we're just really trying to up subscribers, and I'm just doing these live streams
Not at all. I'll tell you why. They experimented with Carl
I just
Mecklenburg
enjoyed doing
last year.
them
They tried to
and
move
his
him
draft
to the
knowledge,
outside
and
linebacker
this is
position
really
that
cool
would be
looking
the
back
primary
into
pass rush position.
the
What they did is they made him a
like
one
drafts back in
position
the
player. That's
1990s
bad
and
for
back
Carl
in the day,
Mecklenburg. When you put
and
him
how
in one place,
how
that means they can
nowadays
assign a tackle or a back to block him, and it puts a lot of pressure on everybody else. As long as Carl can move around, the Denver Bronco defense has versatility. With the addition of Mike Cole now, he can be that designated pass
really
rusher
awesome draft
and
here,
move Carl back inside. Give him the flexibility to bring that defense
Mike
back
Kroll
to the
fourth
level
to the
it was
Broncos.
when they were playing
Maryland
in the
was
Super
drafted
Bowl.
first to the Cowboys.
Defense thus far.
4 straight
The Atlanta
defensive
Falcons,
picks in a
what's
row.
up with the McKyer trade? Speaking of defense, let's go back down and join Gary Danielson in Sewanee. Gary?
All right, thanks, because we don't have anything on the McKyer trade yet, but what's the NFL without this guy? I mean, you got to have Jerry Glenn. It's like doing a rock concert without Madonna. You got to have Jerry Glanville. All right, Todd Light was on the board. Pickens is on the board. You chose Pickens. Why?
We really took the guy that we thought as an organization was the best bump and run man-to-man with the most speed. We thought after the 40 yards, after the long haul, we needed the fastest guy because everybody knows how we like to play. So we really went for it. We think Light's a good football player, has excellent ability, but we wanted the most speed in the long haul.
All right, what about McKyer now? The word is you offered a third and a 12th, and now up until you sign him with that, up till you take that third round pick, is the trade still alive?
Well, he has to be signed for the trade to go down. The way the trade's set up, he has to be inked. Everything has to be on the contract, and then he too would be one of us. If that doesn't take place, then there is no trade.
All right, now how about this? We got 2 guys from Detroit. We both worked in the factories. Now we're in the NFL. We got the whole country watching us.
And we were both on the same football field.
We both were carrying a water bucket at that time.
These people don't realize that I coached you, and that's one reason you never got to start.
All right, what's our cut? Now, do you get a cut every time something like this comes on TV? Your Harley, like a shoe contract. You get a Harley Davidson contract too?
I'm just trying to get Harley Davidson to give me a tank of gas so we can keep racing.
All right, what happens the rest of the first round now? What would you like to fill it out with?
Well, really, we can't spell. We're not going to say anything we're going to do there, but I think we'll just stay at 13. We've tried to move that 13 up. We tried to move it down, and it just didn't work out. So we'll stay where we're at. And we have a plan that we're going to be a good football team.
All right, we'll hope to see you again.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, back to New York, Chris.
All right, Gary and Jerry will all be singing with a twang pretty soon when Jerry comes back and forth. And if he stays at 13, well, probably will get a quarterback that he likes if that's what he wants to do. Let's go Los Angeles Rams, who are now on the board. Now,
Rams on the board.
I got to think the defense to continue the run. However, these are the Rams. These are the Rams, and we're seeing the first big fallout, Mel, in the Rocket now going north. Russell Maryland was going to be their pick. He's not available. There's not an equivalent pass rushing guy at number 5. These being the Rams, and with Jackie Slater and Irv Hanky Panky at the tackles, getting up there in years, can they not help themselves and go with Rick Davis from Tennessee or Charles McCray? I mean, he's your next guy, isn't he? Do they have to go that, or do they go deep?
Well, there are 2 guys right there, Chris. You have Light, the best overall.
Russell Maryland went first to the Cowboys.
4
straight defensive picks in a
Slater's
row.
age. They would love to develop a guy like that, and Antonio Davis at tackle. But the question is, can they, to compete against the 49ers and now the Falcons with that red gun, can they compete in that division without a cornerback who can cover? We know their pass rush is suspect, and the pass on Todd Light to take an offensive tackle who will help you down the road, but it's not going to help Robinson this year, I think will be a very, very questionable selection. I think anything other than Light here is a pick that you really have to look very closely at and question, because this is a neat area as well as the best player still there. You have to go Todd Light.
Mel, should we be surprised that if you go 5th overall,
Remember reacting
oh my goodness, you're falling. But,
to Pro Daily Football video on the 1991 NFL Draft.
People just didn't like Todd Light's
Part
speed.
1
He
here.
has never really cracked 4 or 5 in workouts. Another factor was the hamstring. He did not perform well this year. He certainly didn't play like a top 5 pick. He did as a junior, as a sophomore, but he was bothered by the hamstring from the get-go. Some people thought he might sit out most of the year because of it. He didn't. He was out there. He got a lot of bad bounces in the end zone, balls that he picked off or were picked off by a teammate, were not. They went for touchdowns, and just a lot of bad breaks. The hamstring pull, he didn't support. He wasn't as aggressive as recent years. And like I said, the fact that when people look at Rod Woodson, 10th pick overall a few years ago with his 4.25 speed and his great all-around ability, they look at Todd Light, who might be the 2nd, 3rd, 4th player taken. They paled in comparison, and because of that, people got off of Todd Light a little bit.
And you know who's very interested in this is the man with the next pick, Joe Bugle, because if the Rams do go light, then he'll have his
Rams
pick
pick
of offensive
up
tackles.
next.
Anton Davis, we think that's where they
see.
want to go. Todd Light didn't have the year that he could have, but again, I mean, who are we to judge a hamstring? I mean, you don't know, right?
I was never fast enough to pull a hamstring, so I don't worry about judging hamstrings.
Joe
I really
Theismann.
believe that they have to go corner. It's something that defense is needed so bad. When you take a look at the depth chart, Jerry Gray plays the corner, Daryl Henley plays the corner, Michael Stewart's there, and Anthony Newman. So the addition of Todd Light gives them an opportunity to be able to put somebody out on the corner and feel a lot more comfortable with their secondary coverage. The division has got speed in it. The game has gone to passing. The game has gone to speed at the wide receiver position. You've got to have guys not only that can run on the corner, but Light brings something a little bit different. He brings a little bit of height at 6'1".
All right, of course, Gray coming off the injury, too. So the Rams, you got to cover, but this division is not what it once was. So maybe we'll continue to shed some light on the Los Angeles Rams pick.
That was the same dude that did NFL Red Zone.
We have 4 picks that have been selected for the first time ever. All defensive players. Russell Maryland going first.
4
The
defensive
Cowboys,
picks
followed by Eric
in
Turner,
a row.
defensive back out of UCLA, going to the Browns. Bruce Pickens, the cornerback, going to the Falcons, and Mike Kroll, the linebacker out of Nebraska, going to the Broncos. The Rams are on the clock. They have just over 3 minutes to make that selection. They thought they were going to have Russell Maryland, Freddie, but of course he's gone to the Cowboys. What's the latest news with the Rams?
Well, Robin, I was told all week that the Rams were going to take Russell Maryland if he was there, and if he wasn't there, that it would be likely that they would make a trade with the Philadelphia Eagles for Jerome Brown, who the defensive coordinator Jeff Fisher coached with the Eagles. I know they're also talking to Detroit about Jerry Ball. Well, now Russell Maryland isn't there, so does that mean Jerome Brown goes to the Rams? One thing that is really complicating this situation is that Todd Light is there, and they never thought that Todd Light would be there, so I think that's part of their decision-making process. Now, I'm told if the Eagles make this deal, that they will probably take Anton Davis, maybe Charles McCray, one of the 2 big Tennessee tackles.
Thank you, Freddie. Now, Todd Light continues to fall. Chris, what do you hear about what the Rams will do?
I'd be stunned if Jerome Brown went to the Rams in a trade. If John Robinson had this pick, and he doesn't necessarily have it, it'd be Anton Davis, the Tennessee offensive tackle. Todd Light mixed things up a little bit, but Anton Davis is the guy that John Robinson would like to take here.
For more on the situation, let's go to Chris Myers in Irving, Texas. He's at the headquarters of the Dallas Cowboys. Chris.
Thanks very much, Robin. We spoke to the Eagles this morning. They have no interest in trading Jerome Brown, so that deal with the Rams is dead as of this moment. The Rams wanted to go defense all along, moving to their 4-3 defense that Jeff Fisher, of course, will operate coming from the Eagles. Linebacker Kevin Green will move to an end. They wanted Maryland for some inside help. He's not on the picture. They need defense, so Todd Light would be the pick to help that tight coverage. John Robinson, of course, has a little more control this year than in previous Ram drafts with John Shaw, so there may be some debate thinking about replacing offensive tackle Jackie Slater in just a few years. Jackie Slater will wrap. Antoine Davis is their top lineman, followed by McCray and then Harlow, but the Rams got to be thinking defense, and we'll find out who they pick in just a moment. Let's go back to Chris Berman in New York.
All right, Chris, the pick is up. The commissioner has the card. The Los Angeles Rams. Do they become the first team to draft offense, or do they become 5 in a row for D? We'll know.
Let's see.
The Los Angeles Rams select Todd Light, defensive back, Notre Dame.
5 defensive
5th
players in a
consecutive
row.
Defensive player selected in this draft.
Todd
Next
Light.
up, Phoenix Cardinals.
And there's Todd
Defensive
here in New
back.
York. Congratulations, young man.
Wow.
He's going up to the podium, and so they couldn't get one Notre Dame guy here in New York, and guess what? We got the next best available Irishman. Sorry, Joe.
Irishman.
A lot. And so Todd Light, chosen by the Los Angeles Rams, hugging his mom and dad, young man from Maryland. Class all the way. That's his agent, Bob Wolf. And in that scheme of agents, that's as class as you get to. So Todd Light becomes the 5th straight player chosen on defense, becomes the 3rd defensive back of the top 5. And so there's no smoke screen with Todd Light. He is now chosen by the Los Angeles Rams. And so Rams, I mean, I got to think now that they don't go offensive line here. You can mark them down for the first 5 or 6 selections they have in this draft as defense all the way. And here's Todd Light meeting the commissioner.
Oh, snap.
And the Rams cap.
Todd Light and the commissioner of the NFL.
What a proud moment this is. You worked so hard to get to this point, your first round selection in the NFL draft. his dreams of getting to this point now, move them over again. Number one pick of the Rams. And the Rams hope he is the guy that can help them become number one. Certainly in their division, he's going to have some pretty good guys to cover when they play the 49ers twice every year, that's for sure. But Todd Light has covered the best in college football, not to equate them with Jerry Rice and John Taylor right now, but not to mention Rising and the guys in Atlanta, but he plays and he's not afraid.
The thing about Todd Light is you see his stick ability, but the fact is here's a kid who played well in the All-Star games. The important thing about him is
college
he's
All-Star
played in
games, 1990s.
big football games. He understands what it's all about. He has the ability to cover one-on-one. And it's not going to be a system that is just going to throw it on his shoulders. They'll work with him. What they'll do with all these cornerbacks that are drafted in the first round is they'll do what Buffalo did with Jamie Williams last year. They'll let him play in the nickel. They'll let him get comfortable. He'll work his way in 2 or 3 years. But John Robinson figures one way to stop the dam that's been broken out there in Los Angeles is to put somebody in the secondary so they can at least stop people if they can't outscore them at times.
Mel?
Say, here's the guy, Chris, when you look at Todd Light, when he was recruited by Notre Dame, they thought he could be another Timmy Brown, Jerry Rice-type wide receiver at the college level. A great wide out, great athletic ability. You saw his hands with the interception, the way he maneuvers in the open field after the catch. And as a defensive back in the Rams system, he's ideal with that one-on-one coverage ability to work opposite Jerry Gray and hopefully be able to match up against a team like the 49ers in that same division.
So the Los Angeles Rams, who a couple years ago were in the title game, but last year found themselves on the downside looking up. Hope to look up with Todd Light. We'll be back.
Introduced Michigan City Chrysler Plymouth Jeep Eagle. Leading on
Advertisement.
the 91 LeBaron convertible with cashback or 4.9 financing.
4.9 financing, $1,000.
Also with cashback or no
$1,000.
financing.
That is crazy.
The 91 Jeep with
$500.
cashback or financing. And batting
That's
cleanout,
crazy.
the Chrysler
$1,500.
with cashback or 4.9
Just wow.
financing. That's the heavy hitters from Michigan City Chrysler Plymouth Jeep Eagle.
Another good morning. We're back at the Marriott Marquis in New York. Live coverage, 6.5 hours here of the NFL draft. And so we've gone 5 defensive players. The Phoenix Cardinals are the next team up. And one of the most intriguing stories in this or any other year is the young man, 300 pounds plus, defensive lineman, 20 years of age, Eric Swan, who never played college football. Played for a team in a league that's now defunct, minor league football, the Bay State Titans. Does he go in the first round? Well,
now, like the UFL is like the minor league football league to the
Phoenix
NFL,
Cardinals,
which is
very
pretty cool.
interesting. No Witch himself in Salem,
There's also the
Massachusetts,
IFL.
is our Jimmy Roberts. James?
Well, just returned from the phone. It's raining terribly up here. Real bad weather for most people, but it might be good weather for a Swan on this day. Eric Swan, young man from North Carolina, living in Massachusetts for quite some time now. Just got off the phone with Larry Wilson. It's entirely possible that you may be selected. What can you tell us?
I'm very anxious. It's a very anxious moment for me, and I really thank God for being in this situation. A couple of years ago, a year ago, I was about raking leads in North Carolina and hoping, dreaming where I'm going to be at this point in time. But now it's pretty solidified that I'm going to be here, and I'm very anxious. And I thank God for my family, mom, and girlfriends, and all, and all my fans for my support. And I'm just really ready to get down to business and play football.
Even though it was an aberration, the 6th pick in last year's draft made $3.6 million. Can you give us some kind of an indication as to how that compares to $5 an hour raking leads?
There's no comparison at all, Jimmy. Really, $6 an hour is not a lot of money at all. Most people think so, but working in the lower level of working type thing. But up here, this type of money is great, and I'm attending to some very exciting things.
Oh my goodness!
Send myself to school for interest, and take care of my family, take care of myself and my future family.
All right, there are a lot of people asking questions about, you've not played college football, you've not competed at this level. What makes you think that you can compete?
Well, I'm 6'4", 311 pounds, running 40 and 4.89, and
Let me get my props out here, Chris. It's almost like liar's poker. These guys give you a little bit of stuff
there
here.
We go.
Back to you, Chris. I've got 3 7s.
Well, we have a full house of defensive backs thus far, Gary. We've in the top 3, we've all gone defense. 2 DBs gone already in 3 picks. The most defensive backs ever picked in the first round was in 1981, 6 of them. And who was one of them? That was Kenny Easley, Ronnie Lott, Dennis Smith, Hanford Dixon, Ted Watts, Bobby Butler. This just in, that was a pretty good class of defensive backs. This just in, Bruce Pickens, Rising Mel, all throughout the last month.
Also, we will be ending the live stream soon, so just heads up there.
Right there. Well, Jerry likes speed. Offense, defensive, secondary wants guys who can recover, and Pickens can. He ran that 4.41 at the combine, and since that time, he's moved way up. Probably a little too far, but still, in this draft, with not a super blue chipper at the top, you really can't say it's a reach. The guy is tough. He could even move inside the safety in the long run and be an ideal cover guy. I've been talking all year about the safeties in the NFL, the pure safety being phased out with teams spreading the field with red guns and no huddles and run and shoots. And you really need almost a 4 cornerback situation in your backfield. Your safeties have to run and cover. We saw how Buffalo was exploited all year with that, with the slow safeties. And Pickens, if he did move inside, you would be ideal. You have McKyer and Sanders at the corners, move Pickens inside to handle those coverage responsibilities.
All right, so Bruce Pickens, the first of the 2 first-round selections for the Atlanta Falcons. Next up for the Pickens, the Denver Broncos. They're next on the clock. We'll be back to New York in a moment. Back in New York here at the Marriott Marquis,
this is the
Denver Broncos.
same pick.
Oh, a little lower than they normally are accustomed to. They're the next ones up.
That's why they made that pick, and they'll still make the McKyer trade regardless.
We'll just go
Let me
here.
get my props out here, Chris. It's almost like liar's poker.
We're seeing
These guys
footage
give you a little
here.
bit of stuff.
Pro in a normal year.
Let me get my props out here, Chris.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
almost like this comes on TV. Your Harley, like a shoe contract. You get a Harley Davidson contract, dude.
I'm gonna start a lineup. Who knows?
What are you going to do with your first page? Question about it. Williamson has the
Their picks. And moments ago, when Charles McCray was selected, there was a fist pounding on the desk there. That was the Cowboys' favorite selection in terms of offensive linemen, and that's what they hope to get on their next pick coming up on the 12th selection. So we'll be watching this on draft. Chris Berman gave you helmet cam. We have draft room cam that we'll be keeping an eye on here in Texas. As far as the Packers are concerned, there is a connection. Hank Bulla, their defensive coordinator, is closely tied to George Perlis, of course, at Michigan State, and that means a Bobby Wilson pick is very likely here. Green Bay could also choose Nick Bell going for the inside power runner, but look for Bobby Wilson and that Michigan State connection with Hank Bulla and George Perlis. We understand, too, that the 49ers are trying to trade up, trying to get a defensive back. San Diego wanted Bruce Pickens. They choose after Green Bay. The Chargers will select Stanley Richard, nicknamed the Sheriff, the 4.5 speedster out of Texas, who can also play corner. The Chargers wanted Pickens originally, the best cover guy in the draft, in their opinion. Of course, he went in a hurry, so the Chargers will go with Stanley Richard. If Green Bay does not choose him, it looks again like Green Bay could go Nick Bell or Bobby Wilson. And one other thought on the Chargers, they lost Vincey Glenn through a plan B. Gilbert, who is at a corner, could move to safety. If Richard, who is listed as a safety, moves to corner with his speed, the Chargers think he can do that. But that's the guy that they are looking at. That's it for right now. We'll keep an eye, too, on the Cowboys selections. One of their offensive linemen out of the picture. They'll be looking to pick up a tackle somewhere along the line. Let's get back to Chris Berman in New York.
All right, Chris, so we will keep track of draft room cam as the first round continues to roll along here from New York. Let's check in with Team Steinberg. As the merriment it dropped just a little bit so we can concentrate on the next couple of picks at Newport Beach, let's check in with Mark Schwartz. Mark?
Well, Chris, it would have been tough to get the Triple Crown, which would have been Maryland, Turner, and then Dan McGuire, the San Diego State quarterback, who is the third client of Lee Steinberg, who is here today. Now, Dan did not expect to be the third pick. However, there is reason to believe that he will be as high as the 10th pick. Now, Detroit has the 10th pick right now. However, Lee Steinberg is intimating that there could be a trade involving the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the Seattle Seahawks pick, of course, number 16 in the first round. But, Lee, what do you think? Is it possible that Dan will go number 10 to Seattle on a trade?
Well, you don't know, and of course, that's the team's business, and we really don't get involved in that. But
Harper was selected as the 12th pick out of Tennessee, All-SEC wide receiver in 1990.
Now, New England picks 11. So
But in 1991 draft, the Cowboys selected him as the 12th pick.
Avoid the possibility of New England grabbing McGuire at 11. How real is that?
We'll see who gets drafted here.
Well, I'm sort of sitting here like you are, trying to focus on this, but the Sam Jankovic met with Dan and I several weeks ago. There was a real click and a fit there. He wasn't sure what they were going to do. We have a lot of affection for the people in Seattle. There seemed to be a click there.
Seahawks.
But we're biting nails just like everyone.
Well, one factor for Dan is that he would be very comfortable in Seattle. He says they use 4 receivers just as he did at San Diego State on 3rd down. His family is from Seattle.
Yes, I'd like a quarterback to go somewhere with a good offensive line where the team has stability, where he might not be immediately thrown into the breach. Those quarterbacks tend to develop and have much longer careers. I mean, Steve
So Lions draft here. We'll see who they draft.
He got shattered behind Atlanta trade, but one of our guys has been hurt also. So you know, that either of those situations would be wonderful. Now Dan McGuire in Boston, so it's a nice mix.
That's right. Okay, now obviously the thinking with Lee Steinberg is in Seattle. McGuire could be groomed behind Dave Craig. Seattle not high on Kelly Stouffer, the backup quarterback, indecisive, lacking mobility.
Seahawks draft as the 16th overall pick in the draft Dan McGuire, quarterback from San Diego State in 1991.
All right, Mark, thank you. We
So that's the Seahawks drafted in 1991 draft. But they do that 16th pick to the Lions here. We'll see who they draft.
And then if your player is left, then you make the move. Mel, let's go back to your board here. We've erased really everyone in your top 5 except for Antone Davis. And then in your next 5.
We see Harlow, of course, the offensive tackle, basically equal with McCray all along. Alvin Harper, we have that wide receiver group of Moore, Harper, Hill, Graham, Pritchard, Barrett, and
Harper
all
goes
those wide
to the
receivers
Cowboys.
are going to go at some point from now on through the early to mid-second. See Nick Bell, the number 1 running back. Herman Moore, we talked about. Danny McGuire, the number 1 quarterback, along with Brett Favre. Brett Favre also carrying a very high grade into this draft. And, of course, Reggie Barrett, who carried a very high grade, top 3 type grade going into the
Wait, no.
Leonard Russell, one of the fast risers up the charts, a junior. Bobby Wilson, we talked about almost the
No. Brett Favre was actually drafted to the Atlanta Falcons in the 2nd round as the 33rd overall pick in the 1991 NFL draft. So he could have played with Dion, but instead he was traded to the Green Bay Packers the following year. Well, no, he did play with Deion Sanders. That means 1991. Yeah, Brett Favre, Falcons. Brett Favre's rookie season, he was with the Falcons with Deion Sanders. Wow. And then the next season gets traded to the Packers.
They have the 2
crazy.
lead areas are offensive tackle and safety with Stanley Richards. So
Wow.
those are the guys that they know San Diego
Let's see who gets drafted here to the Lions, 10th pick.
Move and the trade up is a possibility here.
Let's go back to the pack. Don Mikowski, his situation, Joe, obviously for insurance, they did plan B with Tom Zach, but he really is the magic man, and how healthy he is. We saw when he wasn't healthy, they were a different team.
Well, they are a different football team without the
Wait, is
magic
Green
man.
Bay
I
on the
believe he'll be
clock
healthy.
here?
He'll be sound. Unfortunately, it took him almost 2 months to really diagnose the problem with his shoulder. The operation has been a success. I ran into one of the scouts as I've traveled around the country. He said he's throwing around a Nerf ball. Doesn't seem to be any problems. He should start to throw around the big, heavy football fairly soon. I think Mikowski will be just fine. And really, Tom Zach, although Mike's been knocked on a number of occasions, hasn't been able to take the job away or wasn't able to take the job away from Hawk.
Oh, well, that's done here. Well, he was drafted Herman Moore, wide receiver, Detroit Lions, as the 10th pick of the 1991 NFL draft. Well, I'm gonna be ending the stream here. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm gonna keep on thriving with this YouTube channel. Peace. Remember that God is always good. Peace.